It's been a minute. There's been other messages, but we're going to go ahead and read some more from the Joel Austin first copy of Master Potter. Last time we left off was about when Gabriel's visit. It says, before the ache of Master Potter's heart can be fully expressed, the movement of wings ushers the splendor of heaven into the fireside room. Gabriel emerges through the fiery pillar, overcome with awe and humility. The great angel bows in worship before his master. The Potter quietly receives the praise and smiles at his unexpected return. The fellowship of comrades in this moment ancient of wars is instantly renewed as Master Potter lovingly touches Gabriel's shoulders, summoning him to stand. Gabriel's smile gives way to joyous laughter as he embraces Master Potter, the beautiful, glorious Son of God. The Father heard your cries and sent me. The enemy, though surprised by our sudden appearance, was firm in its fierce resistance. When we began to feel the weight of the enemy's detainment, your prayers strengthened us for the final thrust into this cherished realm. I knew the battle was raging, so I prayed on your behalf. Gesturing to the shelves, Master Potter says, the fighting has been violent on the Potter's field as well, but there are great victories. Many new vessels are lining my shelves. I have planned incredible destinies for each of them. They're beautifully designed and each one is so unique. In the heavens we watch with wonder and excitement as you mold the clay into your own divine image. Gabriel extends the golden scroll. I must go now. Your father has additional orders for me. A knowing nod transpires between them as the mighty angelic being turns and ascends heavenward through the fiery pillar. Unrolling the parchment scroll, Master Potter eases into his chair and rubs his soft, curly beard as he reads. Sweet memories of intimate fellowship with the Father and Holy Spirit stir deep love and longing within his soul, and he places his hand over his heart and sighs. His penetrating gaze returns to the hearth, and flames explode in fiery tongues of orange and yellow at the glory emanating from his eyes. The blazing fire and wind envelop and transport him heavenward towards Holy Communion. Fiery passion from the Father's heart sweeps over him as they run to embrace each other, completing the divine mystery of the Trinity, softly at first, and then with gentle crescendo. A celestial symphony fills the heavens with rare and unearthly fragrances touching time and eternity. Now we're going to go into Forsaken. Fleeing down the cobblestone alley behind the old tavern to the outskirts of Comfort Cove. We're going to meet Forsaken now. Forsaken stumbles into the dreaded Potter's Field. Moonlight illuminates the broken vessels and garbage heaped up on the huge city of worthless refuse. Bloodied and bruised after another vicious beating, she is barely escaping with her life. Years of trying to fill the empty void inside her soul had led to a downward spiral of alcohol, men, self-loathing, and bitterness. Penniless and out of choices, she moved into a shabby room above the Fisherman's Tavern with a local brawler named Antagonist. Once the thought of such an individual would have sickened her, but years of compromise made sleeping with even the vilest of men acceptable. It wasn't long before she became the target of his rage. During one of his many violent attacks, he cracked her sides, leaving gaping wounds in her fragile clay vessel. I've got to hide. If Antagonist finds me, he'll kill me. Gasping for breath, exhausted from running, Forsaken collapses to the ground, convulsing and loud broken sobs. Wet ocean fog rolls in, slowly turning the Potter's Field into an eerie, otherworldly landscape. The anguished cries of other broken vessels echo sharply across the lonely field. A terrifying demonic horde creeps out of the dark shadows and through piles of garbage, further wounding the already shattered vessels. Hiding in an open trench, Forsaken grabs her head, trying to escape the recent memory of Antagonist's destructive words and the heavy blows. Forsaken had regained consciousness and was surprised to find Antagonist passed out on the floor, reeling from the beating in her own alcoholic stupor. She stumbled down the stairs and out into the night with no other place to go. Her terror drove her down the alley and finally into this field of torment. Abandonment and hopelessness fell over her like a heavy blanket. Standing close by, this is Gabe, the guardian angel. Standing close by, a huge figure sadly watches Forsaken. She is crusted in mud, lying among the pottery shards and broken pieces of glass. He longs to help, but cannot, at least not yet. See, the imposing angelic being Valiant has looked after her since birth. Somber and still, his features express the years of disappointment and concern over the many tragic choices she has made. Choices that have culminated in the scene that now lies at his feet. Once hopeful for her future, he wonders if she will ever turn to Master Potter and be saved. Meanwhile, Forsaken's heart pounds wildly. This is worse than I've ever imagined. Not only do I have to hide from antagonists, but what if the legends are true? What if the legends are true? Since childhood, I've heard that Master Potter stalks the Potter's Field at night and lures broken vessels to his home, only to hurl them into the mountain of fire. Once you enter this field, they say you're never heard from again. What if it's true? Don't you see how the enemy comes in with lies? That's just like the people believing, that he's after to get you and destroy you when he desires that no one to perish, Drained and exhausted, but we do have a choice. Her body throbbing with pain, she falls into a fitful sleep. Demons dance in and out of her nightmares as she floats off in her alcoholic-induced stupor. Moaning aloud, Forsaken struggles in her sleep as nightmarish visions haunt her with images. Her abusive father screaming into her young face, threatening to abandon her in the Potter's Field. Near dawn, Forsaken stirs awake, drenched in sweat. Her dress clings to her broken and aching body. I have to stop here for a second and say some people, the nightmares, because that they have is some people have been raised in the religious, and have come and gone running from the Lord because you were taught that you had to do all these things within yourself or you're going to burn in hell. And so many lies and different things have come in through that, and you've been running, but you're going to come home now because you're going to hear the truth. Okay. All right, near dawn, Forsaken stirs awake, drenched in sweat. Her dress clings to her broken and aching body. The rising sun begins to burn off the fog and beats down on the mounds of rotting garbage inhabited by swarming flies. Her mind reels with the reality of actually sitting in this appalling field. Streams of vapor rise from the refuge, creating a nauseating stench. She sees vultures circling, waiting for the last breath to escape from her abandoned and dying vessels, from abandoned and dying vessels just like her. With trembling hands, she pushes herself up, determined to begin searching for a hiding place. From a standing position, Forsaken is now able to see the vastness of this city of refuse. Jagged mountains of trash, garbage, and broken vessels are strewn as far as her eyes can see in every direction. Those vessels that survived the night began to emerge from their hiding places, driving away the packs of stray dogs and rats who challenged them for scraps of rotted food. Looking closely at the different vessels, she thinks, I'm just like those other broken pots that have been discarded and thrown away. My whole life is ruined, she says. Look at me. I used to be so beautiful, and now I've lost everything. This is what my father always said I deserved. I guess he was right. I'm going to die in the Potter's Field. This is what she's saying within herself. Hours drag on. This is clothed with compromise. Hours drag on, and Forsaken eventually finds a discarded barrel and climbs in, peering through the cracks. She sees hundreds of other shattered vessels carelessly discarded across the field. As her mind screams with tormenting thoughts about her many bad decisions, she tries to push back the guilt and shame by blame, shifting and rationalizing them away. I wouldn't be in this mess if it weren't for antagonists. Why couldn't he treat me right? It's just like that. All the rest, trembling with fear, Forsaken feels the haze of her alcoholic stupor clearing. She crouches lower in the barrel, covering her ears in a futile attempt to block out the ceaseless, terrifying cries of tormenting souls struggling to escape their misery. In the place of broken and forsaken dreams and dashed hopes, Dark clouds of depression and the heaviness of despair descend upon everything in sight, covering the potter's field in a death-like shroud. Spiritual darkness excites even more demonic activity, and depression consumes the field. Warring over lost souls. The mighty angelic being adjusts his sword as he scans the dreary scene. His orders are clear. He is not to interfere unless Forsaken's life is threatened. So he stands interceding, waiting to see what the end of the little damaged pitcher will be. In this chaotic environment, an insidious war over lost souls continually rages. Spirits of rebellion and jealousy breed division in an attempt to annihilate fragile relationships. The purpose? Isolate the vessels and make them easy targets. Already strained ties between family and friends are severed and destroyed by the sinister minions as relationships yield to the destructive grip of demonic bondage. Eyes to see, ears to hear. How did I get here? As night approaches, Forsaken crawls out of the stifling barrel and bitterly mutters to herself, "It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Just a few years ago I had everything. How did my life go so wrong?" Her thin, mud-splattered dress no longer conceals her bruises. Blood from the cuts on her forehead and arms has stained her tattered outfit. "I used to be so attractive," she says. "Before I ended up on the docks, I always had a voice like a nightingale. And when I sang for the dinner parties at Madame's Inn, just the rustle of my beautiful gown turned every man's head. Look at me now." Forsaken sobs bitterly as she touches her tender cuts and bruises. She says, "I'm such a mess. No one would ever want me." She's constantly speaking this over because you don't know any different in that place, do you? Not until the Lord shines that light, and you got to be willing to receive, don't you? We all have our different journeys to get there, don't we? The intense fear of again being found by antagonists drives her to look for a better place to hide. She slowly picks her way through the field, trying hard not to let panic overwhelm her. Once before she had tried to escape his controlling clutches, and he threatened to hunt her down and kill her if she ever left again. She sees movement ahead. Hope is rekindled, and she limps quickly towards another broken vessel. Drawing near, she hoarsely whispers, "Can you help me? I'm lost and thirsty. I just need a safe place to stay a few days, and then I'll be traveling on, you see. I don't really belong here." Depression's destiny. The pudgy little mug laughs with contempt. "Oh, you belong here, all right. I know all about you. When I worked for the village, I occasionally enjoyed dinner with the mayor. That's when I heard you sing at Madame False Destiny's Inn." Notice the name. Sticking a fleshly finger in her face, he continues. Here, fleshly finger. How many on the pews on Sunday are sticking fleshly fingers in people's faces while they're in their comfortable cars and wearing their comfortable suits, driving around as you see these lights on the side of the road that need lifted up? We've all been guilty. Come on. Wake up. Everyone knew you were a cheap little gold digger, so don't tell me you don't belong here. Stung by the harsh words, Forsaken retorts with anger. Now, I want you guys to hear what's being spoken. Now, you already know her dialogue. You should know, but we all have different stories of where the Lord brought us from, but a lot of us would know where he brought us from. And the dialogue that's gone in her head. And everyone on the face of this earth has had demonic dialogue, has agreed with lies, have said horrible things about yourself and nitpicked yourself. And before you're in Christ, you're going to do it. You're under that fallen seed. So you already know the dialogue. So if you who are in Christ are going around still speaking these things to these people and over these people's lives and situations and government, ears to hear, hello, what are you doing? You're adding to the death they're already in when they need somebody to say, "Light be." Who are you to judge me? I wasn't after Madam's money. Besides, I don't have to answer to you. Of course no one blames you, coming from the docks and all. I heard that after you got kicked out of Madam's inn, you became a drunk just like your old man." Her shoulders drop and she hangs her head in shame, causing the gaps in her sides to widen and sends jolts of new pain across her fragile vessel. Yes, she had come from the docks, but her natural beauty had opened doors for her. She once received that she had a chance at being happy and cherished by someone special. Forsaken acknowledges to herself that she had become willing to do anything to escape from her alcoholic father. "Still, it's none of his dirty mug's business. You keep my dad out of it. I'll never be like him. Besides, did you ever wake up wondering if there would be food on the table? Did you go to school every day with all other kids laughing at your ragged clothes? You don't know what it's like to be poor," she says. "So who are you to judge me?" "Don't snap at me," steams the mug. "You think you're the only one who had it rough. Just because I wasn't poor doesn't mean my life was easy. My folks gave me plenty of things, but they never loved me. I was the brunt of everyone's jokes because I'm a squatty little mug. Why do you think they named me Friendless? You're a low grade of clay, but at least you were one pretty and had friends." Insulted, Forsaken spews out a stream of venom. "So you think I'm low grade, do you? I see you're in the potter's field too. Why don't you just get out of here? I'm sorry I asked you for anything. Just go away and leave me alone." Friendless grudgingly kicks another broken vessel before shuffling away. Lifelong companions, demons of self-pity, taunt him. "No one cares about an ugly, squatty mug like you, and no one ever will. You might as well be dead. No one would ever know you're gone." Forsaken watches him disappear over a mound of garbage. "Good riddance to bad rubbish," she angrily yells in his direction. Then she realizes she's alone once more. Immediately she wishes she had been nicer. After all, he was a man, and maybe he could have protected her. Finding only fear. The rising moon reflects the silhouettes of large, repulsive rats scurrying to gnash at other devastated lives around her, delighting in their cruel assignments. Vile spirits embed their poisonous talons into the hearts and minds of their helpless victims. If only I had a drink to calm my nerves and take away the fear. Forsaken digs furiously through the rubbish, looking for a discarded bottle with even a few drops of liquor left inside. Frustrated, she throws an empty one over her shoulder and hears a cry. "Hey, lady, watch what you're doing. That hurts." Spinning around, Forsaken is startled to see a chipped stoneware sugar bowl. She recognizes her as the dealer from the private gambling club at Madam's. The dealer had seldom spoken to Forsaken there, except to snap off a mocking "yes, madam" through clenched yellow teeth that invariably held a dangling, somewhat mauled cigarette. Turncoat's movements were always brisk, and her skills with a deck of cards made lots of money for Madam. Her chain smoking created a brownish-yellow haze cloud of smoke and putrid odor that clung to each of the high-rolling gamblers. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I hardly recognize you now. The last time I saw you, you were dealing for Madam." The dull little sugar bowl stops and steadies Forsaken's face. Placing her hands on her wide hips, she rasps, "Well, well, if it isn't Forsaken, the little princess herself. You're not so glamorous anymore, are you?" "Turncoat, please. I'm new here and I need help. Some place to stay for a night at least. You know I don't belong here." "Listen here, girlie. I might have been a low-ranking employee at Madam's, but we're equal here. You're on your own. I can't help you. I can't believe you're doing this. I thought we were friends." "I was never your friend. You didn't have time for me. You preferred the important people on your haughty climb up the social ladder. But now we see the truth of the matter. No, Forsaken, you're in the right place. You belong in this garbage dump just like the rest of us." Turncoat's lips snarls up just enough to expose her yellow tobacco-stained teeth. The demonically fueled words pierce Forsaken's freshly wounded heart, releasing a horde of vile, slimy demons to assault her. Spirits of self-hatred attach themselves to her, driving their sharp talons deep into the tender flesh of her heart and mind. She stumbles further into the potter's field. Humiliation and guilt hover over her, battering her with painful memories. Forsaken drops her head into her hands despondently as she succumbs to their vile demonic games. Meanwhile, her addiction is screaming inside of her, driving her in a frantic search for relief. And when I see you again, we'll be on the looking glass.